Hello there, guys. Welcome back to my channel for another live reaction, even though not straight away after the game, but live reaction and player ratings live stream following Salzburg 1, Chelsea 2. Now, obviously, we're about 24 hours late, but that is because I was at the game yesterday. I only got in at like 2 in the morning. And obviously, we didn't have time to stream any earlier today. So here we are, talking about the game, talking about different perspectives, because usually I'm the one that obviously has to watch every game on TV, and Price is often the one in the stadium. This time, it's the other way around. As you can also see, we are joined by Kyle once again, as we were, I can't remember when it was, but like about a week ago or whatever. So glad to have you back, Kyle. I'll start with you. What do you make of yesterday? Because obviously, first and foremost, the most important thing is we won the game. Guaranteed qualification. Then obviously the Milan Zagreb result a little bit later on in the evening helped us secure top spot in the group. So, that's always good. Should theoretically at least allow us an easier draw in the round of 16. So in a good position, especially considering obviously we started with that away defeat to Zagreb, then obviously the 1-0 draw against Salzburg under Potter, and since then 3 wins on the bounce. Can't really complain too much. But what about the performance? Like, obviously the 2 goals were absolute bangers, but it was very interesting because we created a lot of very good chances, just the really good easy chances we just missed.
Yeah. No, that was a good game. Like you said earlier on in the season, we weren't looking too good. It looks like maybe we were going to scrape it, but now it's flying through the group. Hopefully, we do get first. I think mathematically it's possible we can't go second. I'm not sure that's correct.
Yeah, no,
but could beat AC Milan twice. Yeah, so yeah, guaranteed. So it's good things. Good things. The game was quite good. Not so good goals, like you said. Kovacic, Kai Havertz, bangers, and yeah, it was a very exciting game. A few things to talk about. So hopefully we get into it today. But yeah, very exciting game, and yeah, happy to be first.
Absolutely. Pi, so I'll get to you. Thank you for being here, of course, as always, bro. Your perspective. I saw you obviously in the group chat. You were saying like this is some of the best football we've played in years, and some of the attacks that we played out were unbelievable. That near post finish by Aubameyang, the build up to that, obviously great save by the keeper, was unbelievable stuff. Even that. I say even. Also, that other chance by Aubameyang when he was basically squared to by Kai Havertz, and unfortunately, again, the keeper saved it. That whole attack was unbelievable stuff. I'm like, since when can we attack with so much space and pace and intensity and directness? I loved it. I'm like a huge fan. Now, obviously, certain things defensively well, it's not defensively that was the problem, but obviously with the way Salzburg pressed, we weren't for the whole game in complete control, especially the first 10, 15. At least from my perspective in the stadium, I was like, it's okay, but it's not amazing. But some of the football was unreal. What did you make of the whole performance, especially, considering we played a system which we got used to, not directly because it was a 3-5-2 yesterday, but still a system which we got used to of having these defenders. And whenever we did play wingers in the wide areas, in the wing-back positions, whether it was Hudson-Odoi, whether it was Pulisic, we've kind of always criticized it, or a lot of people always criticized it, saying, yeah, you can't play these wingers in these positions. And I guess the difference is just how you interpret those positions. If you go really attacking in those positions, you can very much so put wingers there. It's just, can you handle it that when you are defending that you have wingers as wingbacks, But it worked pretty well against a team that hadn't lost in over 40 games at home in all competitions. Now, mind you, of course, Red Bull Salzburg playing the Austria Bundesliga, where the domestic competition, shall we say, isn't too difficult for someone that has as much money as Red Bull Salzburg do. But still, this also includes European runs, whether that was in the Champions League, Europa League. They just don't lose at home. They didn't even lose at Stamford Bridge, mind you. But we beat them. And it could have been much, 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 much more than the 2-1. So what are your thoughts, Pies?
I think the game was split into sections. I think, as you mentioned, the first 10 to 15 minutes, I think it was a bit nervy, just kind of, or more just trying to feel out each other, I think, because obviously we played each other before, but it's quite a few weeks ago, and obviously it's different venue and stuff, different lineups, so you don't really know what each other's going to do straight from the off. So I think the first 10 to 15 minutes was just kind of just feeling out each other. But then after that, I thought we played really, really well. The attack you mentioned with Aubameyang's near post shot, that was great. Really, really good play. I just thought we was really good on the ball. I thought we passed the ball fast. I thought some of the connections, obviously the one where Aubameyang, I thought should have chipped it. He obviously had the save, but Havertz played it across to him. That was just so good. So like that's what you would just describe like liquid footy. Within 4 passes we was in on goal. Like it was really good. And there was others too, like the Kovacic. There was good build up. Kovacic played a little chip ball through to Havertz. He tried to shoot. Well, I don't know what he was trying to do, but I thought he should have played it across goal. I think that could have been an easy tap in. And just there was like so many sequences where I think even for Havertz's goal, Pulisic I thought was really good on the ball. Won the ball, but it was before that we played well, and then Pulisic got the ball, kind of like outmuscled the defender, kept the ball, played it off to Havertz. That was a great goal. So I think just all round, it was some of the best football I've seen us play in a long time. Years is probably exaggerating it because obviously we have played good sequences before, but I was just caught up in the hype, man. I couldn't quite believe it, especially on an away game. I thought, wow, like it just took me by surprise how confident we were playing, and it was miles better than the Man U game. Obviously, lesser sort of opposition. They pressed us high, and I think we did well getting out with that, getting out off their press. Man United did the same, but obviously, I think just the way you press is obviously different and important as well. So, I was just impressed with us, really, the way that we conducted ourselves in an away game and an important away game as well, because and I thought as well, like even just off the attacking side of things, in defensive side of things, it was 6 minutes added on again. And I thought, we might bottle it, but I thought Kepa was quite good at coming out for the crosses. A couple of times I thought he was a bit shaky, but overall I like to see him commanding his box now. It's definitely something he didn't do. So he looked really confident. And even the one where he got injured, right? We kind of messed up / got injured. Thiago Silva's awareness and anticipation that the ball
Can I
might
ask
go
you
in
actually, because
was
what I
brilliant.
wasn't sure about is, did the ref stop play before Thiago cleared it or not?
No, he didn't. No, so
Okay.
Thiago had to clear it, and then he gave I think he gave a foul, but yeah. So I just thought it was all around great performance. To be honest, it was good from us.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't complain too much. Now, before I want to get into the player ratings, I think we should quickly discuss the latest bit of news, which has, of course, come out this morning. As Chelsea, for once, unlike with Christopher Vivell or with Christoph Freund, and none of these guys, anything was ever announced. Obviously, Christoph Freund didn't actually ever join Chelsea, and Vivell hasn't officially joined Chelsea, but still every journalist says he will eventually. But Chelsea did this morning actually announce a new technical director for the global football part of the operation, I suppose. Pice, I'll start with you before I take this to Kyle. Much of an opinion on it? Obviously, we'll read through the Chelsea statement in which they talk through basically his almost his CV, basically where he's been before and stuff. But what have you heard about it? What do you know about it? Like, is this a move that excites you, or is this one of the ones that like, okay, yeah, we appointed some new Donny, but he's not going to be one of the main guys, so not the biggest deal in the world?
I think probably the first thing to say, like Matt Law tweeted earlier, in terms of the description of the roles, like let's not, get too hung up on them, because he was saying the new ownership are being a bit fancy with the titles and stuff, and essentially what is going to happen is just they're all basically going to work together. In the future, maybe in like a year or something, maybe this guy will focus more on the club, like the multi-club model, because he's done that with Monaco. But in terms of this guy individually, Lawrence Stewart, I think his CV is really impressive. I mean, just look at where he's been. Looks really good. And again, I think Joe Shields, Vivell, these are all exciting appointments when they get done. I think it's, Todd Bowley's trying to build an empire at board level. And I like for the meantime that obviously he's going to be, involved as well. I like to see that our owner's really taking care and attention and is, building the club for the future, but also like remaining active and interested in the club as well. I like that. So hopefully, obviously there's going to be questions. How does it all gel together in the next transfer window and beyond? But I think it's exciting. If you're not excited by this, you'll never be excited, because I think we've had scouts and a recruitment system for years that is way below par of what Chelsea Football Club should be delivering. And now we're getting in some of the most young, exciting, recruitment analysts, data analysts, people that are experienced with multi-club networks. Like, these are not just guys that will focus on one thing. So yeah, I think it's extremely exciting. And I've listened to a couple of interviews by this guy. He's extremely well spoken. He was talking about how basically Monaco. So he was asked about recruitment at Monaco, and he was saying how his team analyze not just data analytics, but they're sort of doing it more modernized now. So they're looking into in-depth social media accounts. They're looking into how they speak, how their body language is, how do they train, how do they react to situations. So there's a lot more in-depth scope of what they do before they sign a player. And I think if you add like him, Shields, Vival, even though he's going to be not really involved, I guess he's going to be more like a technical Petr Cech guy. I think it's exciting. But yeah, I'm kind of like not confused, but I'm kind of interested to see like who does what. Like, when we next sign a player, it's like someone from this new team, I reckon, will be involved, and it'll be exciting to see who played what role. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Before I take this to Kyle, let me actually read through the statement by Chelsea. And also, the one thing I want to say before that is the whole multi-club thing, and I've said this before on streams. I do like the idea. I am a little bit not hesitant. It's maybe the wrong word, but we're kind of. I mean, I know City are in the process of doing similar things anyway, but they haven't. The project hasn't really been completed yet, so we don't really know does it work or does it not yet, right? But with Chelsea doing this, obviously the real role model you can only look at is Red Bull. But obviously Red Bull do it to a different highest level because Leipzig are nowhere near where Chelsea are. Like, they've never won anything other than one German cup, do you know what I mean? And they're never really challenged Bayern Munich either. So obviously it's a little bit difficult in that league because it's such a monopoly basically by Bayern Munich. So it's a little bit dodgy in that sense anyway. But I'm still intrigued to see how does it work when you want to get to the highest level, because Leipzig aren't a final destination club. Now, one could say maybe we aren't the full final destination club either, considering, well, Hazard left, Rudiger left, all these guys leaving to Real Madrid and stuff. But certainly a lot closer to a final destination club than Leipzig are, right? So I'm still intrigued how that whole multi-club system can work if you want to aim that high. But at the same time, I'm like, Roman Abramovich, when he came in 2003, was kind of, an innovator in how football clubs can be run, right? Now, obviously, people will say, well, can be run. He just put all his money in and, had a laugh, which, yeah, maybe that's, putting it simply, maybe that is what kind of happened. But it was still new at the time. And now what we're doing here, I know City are in the process of doing it, but us alongside City are kind of the first ones doing this as well. So if it works, that could help us dominate football for a good amount of time, as the Roman Abramovich era helped us do. Obviously, could also not work, and then it backfires, and then we just wasted resources on nothing. But, obviously, we do hope it works. Let me read through the statement before I ask Kyle about his thoughts. Now, as you can see, Laurenz Stewart to join Chelsea. Laurenz Stewart will be joining Chelsea in a new position as technical director to focus on football globally. As Pi said, though, don't focus too much on the wording of titles, because Christopher Bevell will be technical director, and Laurenz Stewart is apparently technical director with focus on football globally, which basically just means he's going to be the main guy in charge of the whole multi-club system. But as also Pi said, we're not quite starting that yet. So, maybe in a year's time or whatever it will be, that's when he will be on that, basically. But let's just read through what Chelsea have said. Stewart will join Chelsea when he completes his commitments, to AS Monaco, where he's currently technical director, having moved to the Liga club in June 2020. During his time at Monaco, the team recorded consecutive third-place finishes in Liga and was a finalist of the 2021 French Cup. Now, the only thing I find weird about the statement is why, when he completes his commitments to AS Monaco. So when's that then? I mean, do you know at all when he's going to start working at Chelsea, or does no one know this at the moment?
I don't know. I don't think anyone else has said yet either.
It's a bit weird, I find.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I think a lot of these guys, I think Shields is having some sort of gardening leave or something, isn't he? Or I think they're all.
They know when their gardening leave ends, right? So, it's okay. Say it's fair enough that he has to finish his commitments at Monaco. That's absolutely fine. But why not tell us when that is? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it's a part of the contract or something. I don't know.
Could be. Absolutely. All right. Prior to his role as the technical director at AS Monaco, Laurenz was the global head of scouting at Red Bull Soccer International. Obviously, the whole Red Bull group with Leipzig, Salzburg, New York, and they have one in Brazil, I'm pretty sure, as well. Earlier in his career, Laurenz was the head of performance analysis at Manchester City, my bad. Senior recruitment coordinator at Everton, and was with the England national team in a performance analyst role for the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Now, maybe that part is the greatest thing, considering how England did in that World Cup. But, we move on and hope that, his positions after that, suit him, or just prepared him better for Chelsea than that England job in 2014. On his appointment to his new role, Stewart said, "I'm delighted to be joining Chelsea and excited about the vision and direction of the club under the new ownership group. I'm excited to join them to help them build a world-class global sporting organisation to consistently win on the pitch at the highest levels and provide player pathways to help develop our talent." Chelsea chairman Todd Bowley and co-controlling owner Beradek Barley said, "Laurenz is an important appointment as we plan to build a deep sporting team that will collaborate closely. Laurenz is a world-class football leader who understands talent management, data and scouting, player development and performance. Chelsea wishes to thank the owners of AS Monaco and the management team for supporting the recruitment of Laurenz to Chelsea's project." Kyle, let me get to you. What are your thoughts on this? Now, I'm not expecting you to be an expert on Laurenz Stewart here, but in general, the idea, because I haven't really asked you about Chelsea trying to, go for this, what you call it, like multi-club system, and obviously trying to get people from various clubs in that hopefully also have good experience at doing that. Obviously, he used to work at Red Bull before he joined Monaco. So what is your idea? What is your feeling on the whole thing, basically? And I guess any thoughts on Laurenz Stewart specifically? Obviously, say that as well if you have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is something I'm actually very interested in. I know a few people in the fan base have a negative review on this. I think they think it's a bit unethical, but personally, this is something I think's very good to get us at the top of the game. I remember a few years ago, we were looking at someone like Luis Campos, and I thought, yeah, this would be a good. Someone like Luis Campos, he'd be a good signing because he's signing lots of young players. He's looking into the stats. Looking into actually players' personalities, and I'm thinking, yeah, Monaco looked good. All the players, they had a good season that year as well. I think if we get someone like Luis Campos with our kind of academy and where we can bring people in as well, I thought it would be a very good signing. So I'm very happy that we're actually finally getting that kind of structure now. So that's something I'm going to look forward to. I'm interested to see.
I mean, I'm not sure if we're getting Luis Campos in the end.
Oh no, not Luis Campos, but kind of system.
Looking
into players, scouting, getting player profiles. It's going to be a good structure. I know before I used to think we'll kind of run like Man United in the way where we a better run Man United in a way where we kind of buy big players and hope it kind of works out. So a little bit unorganized compared to like our women's team or our youth academy team. I felt like our men's team was a little bit unorganized, especially after the money situation in 2016, where everyone's money kind of leveled out a bit more. So we did need to be a bit more, planned out. And this is something I'm very happy with. I can't wait to see what happens. I don't know much about him fully, but yeah, I'd like to see what happens in the future for this, for sure.
Fair dues. Fair play. Now, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we had to quickly cover the news as Chelsea. Oh, I'm not sure how that happened, or if you did that, Carl. If I did that, my apologies. Didn't mean to do that. But yeah, obviously, we had to quickly cover the news, but now we will get back into talking about yesterday's game, which we are first and foremost here to do today. Now, what we should discuss before we get into individuals is that we went with a very, very interesting lineup. Now, if I'm honest, I'm not really sure why we didn't. I mean, we kind of hinted at it for a minute, if you remember, Pice. Obviously not with Sterling and Pulisic at wing backs, but for a second, because we had it in a different formation, the fullback, and then I was like, we could just shift this to a 3-5-2, because that's exactly the formation we played in the first leg in the first game against Salzburg when we drew 1-1 in Potter's first game. We also played a 3-5-2 with 3 proper midfielders, 1 6, 2 8s, then 2 wing-backs, and then 2 strikers ahead of them. So if we're honest, not really surprising, because obviously Graham Potter's idea of that remained the same, because Salzburg played the same. Although, interestingly, once we switched to a 4 very late in the game, they switched to a 3, which I found very interesting. But anyway, so that's what we went with. Initially, and I go with you, Pice, thoughts on the team when it came out? Like, when I realized that Sterling and Pulisic must be wing-backs here, I was like, well, this is a bit crazy here. But I was intrigued to see how it would go. I just wasn't really sure. What was your thoughts?
On the lineup?
Yeah.
I was about to lose my mind, to be honest. I didn't know why so many first teamers were playing. I know we had to win or, at least draw, but I thought, wow, like I expected a lot more rotation. I expected Broja to 100% start over Aubameyang. I expected Sterling 100% to get rested.
Having watched the game, even in hindsight, one has to say that should have happened.
Yeah, Broja weren't great when he came on, to be fair, either, but I think he should have started.
He was amazing at holding up the ball, though, when we were trying to waste.
Yeah, he was.
Absolute monster.
Sterling, I didn't think should have started. I think Kovacic, I was like, I couldn't believe he was starting. And also, he came off with calf tightness. Obviously, it's great that he got a goal, but, like, seriously, like, he literally came on against United when he probably wasn't supposed to, and then 2 days later he starts. I was baffled by that. Who else? Cucurella, I thought actually I predicted Cucurella to start, but I thought he might play Chilwell. And then Kepa and Mendy. I chose Mendy just because I thought this might be a game where he might come back in, but Kepa stayed, so I wasn't really bothered.
Yeah.
And Havertz, I did expect to start, but yeah, I think I kind of ignored him in our preview because I didn't really want him to play. But he scored the winning goal, so there you go.
Can't really complain. And what a goal it was as well. I mean, we'll get into the individuals in a second, but I'm still not really sure if Sterling is a big fan of having to play wing back at times. Pulisic certainly, as much as Pulisic at times did great things like you touched on earlier, at other times, well, should have certainly done more than he did. He still seemed a lot more up for doing this than Sterling did at times. I don't know. Maybe that was just my vibe, and not everyone necessarily agreed with that. But Kyle, before we get into individual ratings, what was your thoughts when you saw the team? Pulisic wing back and Sterling wing back. Obviously a bit crazy, as Pies touched on. I guess a lack of rotation to some extent. The weird thing was, I'm not sure if you saw that interview or if you read those quotes, Pies. After the game, Graham Potter actually said that Mount and Ruben felt a bit of tightness in, well, not sure which specific muscle, but also in some muscles, which is why they actually didn't start. Because, like you said, obviously, Kovacic is playing with that knee injury. But weirdly, it was Mount and Ruben that, had to take a little bit of a rest, which I guess does make sense because those are, in terms of outfield players, probably the two that have played the most minutes outside of the centre-backs. So it's not exactly hugely surprising. But still, the fact that Kovacic played again, obviously, Jorginho wasn't a huge surprise either, but still, that was just a lack of rotation with Aubameyang and Sterling in the team. So what did you make of that? And obviously, in the end, we know how it went. But did you think at the time that this will go any good, basically? Go on, Carl, sorry.
Oh, me. Sorry about that before you talked to Pies.
No, my bad.
Okay, for this one, it was very surprising. One thing I'm realizing is Potter definitely really loves Kovacic as well. Definitely relies on him as his main man. It's no surprise. He's been quite good under Potter. Definitely one of the best midfielders along with Ruben, so he definitely always starting one of them. Well, yeah, it was a bit surprising with Kovacic on the pitch. And our wing-backs, I don't like Sterling as a wing-back overall. I felt like when I see him too far back trying to defend with Cucurella, it looks a bit weird in my eyes. I just don't think Sterling should be in that position. But yeah, Pulisic on the other side did look a bit more up for it. Did go inside a bit more confident, I'd say. He's used to it, probably. Used to the position where Sterling maybe used to be a bit more further forward. But yeah, overall, it was a very good game. Going off the keepers, I felt like both keepers did quite well this game. Salzburg's keeper was, in good form.
Mate, he was having a game with his exactly. Life. It was unbelievable.
Exactly. So always against Chelsea. Chelsea.
Hey, but at least in a way, let that goalie have his day. We still won anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So then we can all go home happy, really. But on that note, we will actually start with Kepa. So after the game, I tweeted a picture of in the stadium. I was like, brilliant screamers. And also I, at the time, and I still kind of think that, Kepa was phenomenal. Now, a lot of people, I say a lot, like 5, 6, 7 people, replied to me basically questioning or ridiculing the fact that I said Kepa was phenomenal. And then I saw a lot of the reactions on Twitter, and a lot of people were seemingly very, very unhappy with how he dealt with set pieces. And now, Pies, you touched the one where he got clattered a little bit, and then obviously Thiago Silva had to clear it off the line. I'm like, well, maybe that wasn't ideal, but in the end, even if it was only, the whistle was only blown after the fact, it was still a foul. So why are people having a go at him for the situation, right? He was fouled, man. So what is this? Unless it was only interrupted because he was down injured. Could be that. But, it seemed like that. And, he still always got, at least from my perspective, but again, I was on the complete other side of the ground. He always, even if he didn't always get perfect connection on the high balls, he still always got at least a fingertip on it, which put it past all the Salzburg players, which meant they had to try to cross it back in, which I'm like, well, as much as he's not perfect, he's never going to all of a sudden turn up to be 7 foot tall, is he? So, it's already better than a year ago, 2 years ago, when instead of trying to come for balls and getting at least a fingertip on it, he was just stood in his line and then usually conceded a corner in the header in the far post because he can't do anything about it. So I'm like, people are just weirdly critical. And I understand, obviously, we're used to Petr Cech, and then we replaced Petr Cech by flipping Thibaut Courtois. And then we replaced, him with Kepa. And then all of a sudden we had this great goalkeeper in Mendy again for a year and a half. So I understand why people have extremely high expectations, but you also need to be a little bit somewhat realistic. He's not going to go from absolute dog shit at, commanding his box and dealing with set pieces to being the best in the world. But he's still making improvements. And in my opinion, instead of people praising and recognizing those improvements, that's just shitting on him because he's still not good enough in their opinion. I'm like, people, for some reason, I'm not sure why they make this up in their head, at least in my opinion. They claim like Mendy is this absolute wonder goalie when set pieces come flying. I'm like, excuse me, have you watched Chelsea in the last year? Like, did you not see us towards the end of last season when basically every single set piece that was coming our way, we were struggling with it? Who was in goal then? Mendy. So let's not make these lies up that Mendy is this absolute god when claiming crosses. He's not. He's not Courtois. He's really not. I'm not saying he's bad. And obviously, he's better at it than Kepa is. Of course he is. But people pretend like he was an absolute monster at it. And even in his best times, he really wasn't. At least in my opinion. I mean, Carl, well, what are your thoughts on that? Like I said, I'm not trying to sit here and say Kepa was incredible at that, but I still think people are being a little bit unnecessarily harsh. It just feels like we finally have a Kepa, but any goalkeeper in good form, in confidence, and it's almost like the fans don't like it and they want to ruin his confidence. That's what it felt like. A few of the things that I read on Twitter, and I'm aware it's only Twitter. It's a very toxic place. I'm very much aware, and I'm aware that the majority of people probably were quite happy with his performance, but still. I don't understand these people. So what's your reaction to that? Do you think I'm taking it a bit too far with being too critical of Mendy? Because I've also had that thrown at me when I said, for example, against United one, where I'm like, yeah, prime Mendy potentially saves that. But current Mendy, or at least the last Mendy we saw before he lost his place, he wouldn't have gotten anywhere near that Casemiro header all the same. And then people were like basically telling me how I'm now making Mendy worse than he ever was. I'm like, no, I think you're just making him way better than he was recently. But obviously, everyone has their own opinion. So what's yours on that? And then we get into Kepa's rating itself.
Man. Yeah. What you just said there, I think people forget Mendy's last 6 or 12 months. He hasn't been too good recently at set pieces. And I actually love Mendy. He's one of my favorite keepers. Just because he got for so cheap, I wasn't expecting him to do this well. But ever since he came to the side, after the African Cup of Nations, he hasn't been looking too good for majority of the stuff he's good at, aka set pieces, corner, all those sorts of stuff, catching the ball. He just wasn't looking too good. And Kepa, I'm not going to lie, he does have his limits, as in you can't always reach the top corner or be perfect at set pieces. But overall, he had a good game this game, and there isn't really much to complain about here for someone like Kepa. And we always talk about having, the best players starting their games. If you want that to happen and Mendy to step up, maybe this is what he needs. And Kepa to do good and to keep him in the side, and Mendy can hopefully get some game time for an FA Cup game, see how he looks. Because he was in bad
maybe
form.
Zagreb next week might be a shout.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm very happy with Kepa. I don't know why it's Twitter. Twitter is Twitter. So we're going to have to just leave it as it is. But overall, like I said, I like Mendy more, but Kepa had a good game, so not much to complain about. If we're doing ratings, I'll give him a 7.5 out of 10.
See, I think a 7.5 is about fair because I thought that one save from Benjamin Šeško from just outside the box, that, when he had to get down to the ground super quickly, at least from my perspective, and I even saw it back in the highlights, that to me is an unbelievable save. There was a couple of other ones where I thought he reacted really, really well. So I was thinking like 7, 7.5, 8, somewhere around that ballpark. So I certainly would happily go along with it. Pies, what's your perspective? Number one on what I said in terms of people complaining about his dealing with set pieces, which again, I do understand that they think he's not amazing at it, but let's not make it worse than it is and let's pretend that the other option is that much better when he really isn't. Like even in his absolute heyday at Chelsea, Mendy, I thought considering how tall he is in comparison to Kepa, I always thought he's not actually that good at dealing with high balls when it's crosses or set pieces. Now, maybe I was always harsh on him, I don't know, but at least I always had that opinion, really, where I'm like, yeah, you're good at it because you're taller than Kepa, of course, so that's why you're better at it. But considering how tall you are, you're not exactly amazing. Because I was sat there a few times, even with Mendy in goal, I'm like, remember Courtois when we had this goalie? As much of a snake as he is. My guy came for every corner, caught every corner, and, no one had anything to do. Like, no opposition got anywhere near it because Courtois just flew out and caught every single one of them. But that's not Mendy, though, is it?
Yeah, on what you said about Mendy first, I think I was a big fan of him in terms of claiming crosses. I thought, especially during his early times when he joined us, I thought it was almost a cheat code because he was so tall and he would literally just come and just scoop them up, and it was like, easy from corners. But I do agree in terms of like the last few months when we saw him last season, he definitely wasn't as good. But yeah, his height is a big advantage, obviously, from set pieces. But I agree. I like that Kepa's now commanding his box. He's not afraid to come for crosses. But not only that, it's like his punches as well. He's doing really the full package to the best of his ability. And there was a couple of nervy moments, but I like that he's doing it. I'd rather him not be a statue because it shows that he's confident. At the end of the day, I think that's all we can ask for as a Chelsea fan. Him being committed and not backing out of things. There's nothing worse than a player backing out of a challenge or a goalie backing out of a duel. So for me,
And there
that's
was a few
infuriating.
which he got a good fist on, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a few. I think it was just a couple towards the end. Obviously, the one where he got injured, I think looked really bad. Obviously, Pavlovic got it ahead of him. And then there was one where it was more to, I think it was a corner. He came out more, it was swung back to the left side and he missed it. But other than
Did he
that,
not
yeah, he
get a
was
fingertip
decent.
on it? If we're thinking about the same one, or did he miss it completely?
I think he missed it completely. He might have got a little fingertip on it, but for me, when I was watching this certain one, I was thinking he shouldn't have come for that. Like it was almost
Okay,
like overcommitting, almost like just stay in
okay.
your goal type thing. But
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah, his player ratings. I'm just looking back because obviously me and Charlie streamed. Looking
Yeah,
back
there
at
you
the
go.
player ratings. Yeah, I give him a 7. I think we give him a 7.5, and then we went down to a 7. But I think in between that ballpark is probably right for him. Obviously, he made a few saves, nothing crazy, but yeah, the goal we was debating about, I think is a great finish.
Mm.
Maybe Kepa went down too early, but I'm not sure. It's one of those, isn't it? I think some people
Yeah.
were blaming him, and then others were saying it was unsavable. So I don't really know what to think, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a weird one. I only really saw it back when I watched the highlights when I got home. And it was weird. Obviously, I'm not sure whether it was just the highlights that I happened to see or whether there was actually no perfect shot of seeing what he does. Because on one angle, I thought, why are you not stretching your arm out? Maybe you could have got it as he's falling. But then on the other angle, I'm like, you're miles off it. You can never save that. So I feel like it's a little bit of angles of cameras that's kind of swaying people's opinion, which replay did they see first. Maybe it's one of those. Because let's not talk about anything in that goal, in my opinion. That one guy made a mistake. Unfortunately, it was Thiago Silva. He rushed out trying to intercept the pass. Didn't quite get there, which left a lot of space. Pulisic was ripping his lungs out to try and somehow get back to stop the cross. But Maxi Berber, the guy that put in the cross, he's Austrian. He's actually a centre-back, but playing left-back for Salzburg and sometimes also for the national team. That is one of the best crosses you will ever see. That is a ridiculous cross. From like in full sprint, and in exactly the perfect area. Unbelievable cross. So to me, it's like, yeah, okay, the cross is just amazing. The finish is really good. And if anyone made a mistake, it's Thiago Silva. But of course, people don't want to blame Thiago Silva, and neither do I. But so they have to look someone to blame, and I feel like they just happen to blame Kepa instead. But to me, like you say, it's just a really good finish. It's a really good cross. Some things the goalkeeper just can't do anything about. And I feel like people sometimes don't really accept that. I feel like sometimes people think goalies can theoretically save every goal. I'm like, no, they really can't.
People want Kepa to be like a super god or something. I think
Yeah,
like you
otherwise
said,
they won't ever
he's
be happy. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly like he's not going to be, as you said, go from the lowest confidence of his career and not starting at all, not even getting a look in when Mendy was bad, to being unbelievable. So I think he's been very, very good, and people just need to relax a little bit until he actually does an absolute stinker, and then we can talk a little bit. But even then, how many stinkers did Mendy have, and he got away with it? So it'll be
Absolutely.
interesting to see, like, when that does happen, does he stick with him, or that'll be interesting for me. But hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon because we're unbeaten. So please
Absolutely.
keep performing.
Exactly. It will be interesting because I do expect us to play Mendy against Zagreb next week. And it will be interesting to see him for the first time in a while, because obviously we haven't seen him play in by that point, like 2-3 months. So it will be interesting to see if he maybe that time off the pitch helped him regain confidence a little bit or whatever, because he didn't look great when he last played. So maybe this can also help him, because obviously Kepa certainly doesn't look the same now as he did when he last time played regularly. Although, to be fair, during the AFCON, when Mendy was away, Kepa was actually also pretty good as well. But in terms of when Kepa was actually still playing on merit rather than just because the other goalie was away at AFCON. But let's get to the back three. And I want to, even though he's probably the least defensive of all three of them, I want to give a shout out to Cucurella, because the last couple of performances now, not against necessarily United. I don't think he was that bad. He was just subbed off because of tactical reasons. But against Brentford and against Villa, he was awful. Like really, 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 really bad. And we were speaking about it on Monday in the preview part, weren't we? About like that, he lost weight to tonsillitis when he had his tonsils removed and everything. But at least in my opinion, and also the stats do show that as well, I thought Cucurella was absolutely phenomenal. And for me, in my opinion, he's actually my man of the match. I think he was absolutely unreal. His timing of when to all of a sudden explosively steam out from the back line and try to intercept passes was so good. And even when people tried to cut inside in front of him, the way he managed to stay with them, sometimes nick the ball off them, and even if he didn't nick the ball off them, still keep them away from goal. I thought he was absolutely unreal. Like, honestly, I was so happy with him. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Pies, I'll go with you again, actually. Did you think it was unreal, or was that just me?
Just you, I think. I thought he played good, but I don't think he was unreal. I thought he played good. His stats looked good in terms of defensively. I think he won all of his duels, won all his tackles. But he wasn't a player that stood out for me that much. I thought he played well on the ball. He was a lot better. Didn't have as many defensive issues, or even like positionally. I think he's been caught out quite a bit, but thought he played well. I went with a 7 yesterday. So again, I think that's warranted for me. Although I think based on what you saw, you're probably going to go way higher. But yeah, I went with
I've
a
got to
7.
go a bit higher. But was it you that posted his stats yesterday? I saw that his stats somewhere. Was it you?
Probably.
The stats were good though.
His stats were good. Yeah, as I said, I think he won all his duels, won his tackles, completed the dribble. There was something else, I think. Maybe, something else.
He had 1 out of 1 headed, like ever duels he won as well.
Yeah, ground duels. He did well in terms of stats.
Fair. Okay. Fair enough. I'm not saying everyone has to have the same opinion as me. Of course, Europass, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I definitely didn't post about flying to London anywhere because I didn't fly to London. I drove to Salzburg to watch the game. But fair enough. Kyle, I thought Cucurella was phenomenal. Pice thought Cucurella was good. What did you think of Cucurella?
I don't want to disappoint you. I'm with Pice here. I thought it was just good. He had a good game. I'm not going to lie, but I do feel like maybe Chalobah and Silva are slightly better in my opinion, just in terms of how solid they were over the game. But that's just my opinion. Cucurella had a good game though. I feel like he's definitely very good on that side. Oh, not very good over the past few games. Actually, hasn't been looking good. But I do like him on that side for what he brings in attack, aka passing the ball. Going forward, hopefully overlapping with Sterling at some point. Because Sterling, let's be honest, Sterling and Pulisic are going to be hard to defend for, which is why probably them crossing in is going to be a common theme we might get if we play these two as a wing backs. So yeah, Cucurella, I did think had a good game overall stats wise, and as me watching it on TV, I thought it was just an overall good game for him. Just general 7.5 out of 10.
Fair dues. All right, you boys win 7. I would have honestly given him a 9, which I guess leaves us at an 8 overall. But yeah, like I was just really happy with him. Again, obviously, especially, Pice obviously goes to the game super regularly, while I'm on the perspective where I watch basically all the games on TV, and then every now and again I get a chance to see it in person. So maybe it's a little bit different compared to seeing it in person regularly. But yeah, I just thought it was really good. But fair enough. Let's get to Thiago Silva then. Other than that one minor mistake for obviously in the build up to the goal, I thought it was very good. He nearly died, nearly was absolutely killed by Benjamin Sesko. And someone posted on Twitter as well. Well, even Bell Silva was like, "Is this football? Is this soccer?" She said, but it's a footballer, is it MMA? I never understand, but referees don't do anything about those things. Like that is like the guy could have literally died and broken his neck, man. Like how do you just get? I don't even think he got a yellow. Like it was a free kick, but. Why are these things not more penalized? I mean, obviously it doesn't help that someone like Harry Kane does it literally every 2 minutes in every single game he plays, and he gets away with it. So obviously that makes the whole world think it's absolutely fine, which is where, the role model thing comes in for the absolutely best players, of course. But yeah, obviously the goal line clearance. And what I love most about him is just he's so, and I feel like you appreciate that more in the stadium. He's under pressure and you give him the ball and it just doesn't matter. He's so calm. Like, as soon as he receives the ball, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be fine. Like, he's
Bro,
just
that's why all the fans at home sing his name so much.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times when even the Man United game, right, when we was being pressed, like just seamless. He's just so calm. I've never seen a defender like him. And that's because obviously it's like years of experience, but it's insane, bro. 100% agree.
There you go. He's just absolutely phenomenal at it. Now I gave Cucurella a 9. I probably would have given Silva like a, I don't know, like a 7, just because, like I do still think he made a bit of an error there in the build up to the goal. That he stormed out and missed the ball. Like, it's not an awful error, and it's definitely instruction that our defenders were told to defend aggressively. But obviously, when you miss the ball, then that leaves you a little bit, undermanned, I suppose, in the defensive areas. So it happens. It's not the worst mistake in the world, but I still think I can't go too crazy high with the rating when he does that. But Kyle, you thought Silva was a bit better than Cucurella, so therefore, are you thinking like 7.5, 8, or would you go along with the 7 for Thiago?
I'm going with the 8 for Thiago Silva. He had that goal line save. I feel like he's the only player that's going to do that in our defense. I remember him doing it against Juventus last year, and you just don't expect him to do it. Like he's so unreliable that I don't know what to say about him anymore. So players, loads of fans like to talk about Salibas and whoever's doing good in their team. Not many people talk about Thiago Silva. Even when we had Rudiger here last year, people seem to talk about Rudiger more than Thiago Silva. And I just think what he does on and off the pitch is just crazy. And this game, leadership-wise, him talking to Kepa, I saw lots of them talking about where to be and stuff like that. I thought it was just great overall, and I'm giving it an 8 for sure. Very good game.
Fair dues. Pice. I said 7. Carl said 8. Well, I guess what did you give him on Charlie's channel, but also what would you give him now, I guess, if it's any different?
Just need to double check. I think I went with a 7.5. I think Charlie went with 7. Yeah, solid. I think it was just obviously what brings down the rating is obviously the way he pressed so high and didn't win the ball. But to be honest with you, like I know it is an error technically, but that pass from the guy who played the ball to Adamu was like a De Bruyne pass. It was ridiculous. It was such a nice curling ball. So I don't know, like, yeah, he jumped out a bit and didn't win the ball, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like it was, he got past him and he's through on goal. There was still more to do from their sort of position. So I would give him a 7.5. I think he was good. That I do agree with you. That head collision he had on the floor just by himself was, oh my God. When I watched it back, I thought it was going to be really dangerous and bad. And glad you could see the Chelsea doctors from the TV anyway. I don't know whether you saw them, but for me, they ran on really quickly, and because they did. The height of it was crazy. Like I couldn't believe how high he was in the air. And that just, honestly, when I saw the replay, it made me feel sick, bro. Like, backwards. Oh, it was horrible.
I was so worried. Obviously, you see it from a distance. You can only see it live. And I was like, oh, my God.
I can't believe he wasn't concussed, at least. I can't believe he wasn't, it was crazy.
My guy woke up with a stiff neck this morning, that's for sure. Yeah, honestly. I was so glad he was fine and obviously could continue. All right, let's get to Trevor Chalobah. One of the stars and surprises of our season so far, especially one of the stars and surprises of the time on the Graham Potter, of course, because obviously, unfortunately, Wesley Fofana picked up that unfortunate long-term injury against Milan in the home game. But since then, Chalobah has been an absolute unit. I've been so impressed with him. Even he was involved in some of the build-up to attacks as well. That one through ball, what's the best word to use? He just put through wonderfully to Conor Gallagher, then put the cross in, and Havertz header, unfortunately, was straight at the keeper. But still, he was even involved in those situations. I love him. I'm a huge fan. Now, I didn't see that in such detail, but I read on Twitter that whenever Kepa kind of basically didn't get to the corners when we had all of those set pieces against us late on, it was 9 times out of 10 always Chalobah that managed to get rid of them. So I'm like, I'm so impressed with him, honestly. I would probably, now we ended up with Cucurella giving him an 8 anyway. Obviously, I gave him a 9. But I personally would give Chalobah an 8. I thought he was really, really good. I was just very, very happy with him. Pice, did you agree that Chalobah was very good yesterday?
Yeah, he was good. I went with the same rating as well. I went with an 8. I think he was the outstanding defender for me. Again, I think one of his best attributes, maybe his best attribute, is actually on the ball as well. I thought he was really, really good. I think that's 31 starts now without being beaten. So it's honestly insane. This record is mental.
Just never drop him, man.
just never drop him. If we can remain unbeaten against Arsenal, that would be great with him. He's probably going to play. So, yeah, I mean, what more can you say? So impressive. I always thought he was pretty decent, and Obviously, he had a horrible pre-season, and there was rumours of him going out on loan as well. But no, he's stepped up massively, and I think he should be in our England squad, man. I know you're not English, but yeah, I think he should be in the England squad for me. I think why not? Is he better than Mings? Yeah. Is he better than Maguire? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's quality, man. And he's so
Is
young
he
too.
arguably better than Tomori?
Yeah, I mean, Tomori's not been great whenever I've seen him play against like high level opposition. So obviously Tomori's good, but yeah, I think Chalobah he's in for a shout, especially because we play a back three. That right centre back position's perfect. Yeah, he's so good on the ball. He's aggressive, but also, there was times yesterday. There was one time where a guy was pressing him and he just calmly let it out for a goal kick using his body. I was like, that's great defending, experienced defending. So yeah, he's just so young as well. Like him and Fofana is great options to have, and it's impressive as well because he's played in the middle a few times for us. So to rest Silva when Fofana comes back, you can play both of them, and it's great. So yeah.
Honestly, I could not agree more. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Kyle, 2 8s from our end so far. So let's see whether you can sway that in any direction. But would you agree? Did you think he was very good as well?
Yeah, I mean, if Cucurella's at 8, I'll go give him an 8.5 then. It might change much. But yeah, Chalobah was definitely my best defender for this game. I felt like the last 10 minutes, he was crazy. I think he won 2 or 3 good headers, looked calm under pressure, and there's not really much to say about him. I think this season he's had definitely the second best performance for all our defenders. Koulibaly looked a bit shaky, and Chalobah, even though he starts off shaky sometimes, overall, he had a very good game today. And like Pi said, under pressure, it's just immense. You can tell he comes from the Cobham Academy, really, because he's just good on the ball overall.
Absolutely. The only bad thing about Chalobah at the moment is his haircut. I'm not really a big fan of the big dreads, but you do you, bro. You do you. But there you go. Let's get to Jorginho then. Now, he won the official man of the match. Well, I thought he was good. Not quite sure he got man of the match, if I'm honest, but hey, we'll take it. He was, obviously, you guys wouldn't have seen that. He got the little UEFA ball that they get as the man of the match award. And he was walking towards the away fans and obviously, giving it the fist bump and celebrate with everyone. And then he told this photographer, obviously the pitch side photographers, basically, take pictures. And then this photographer was clearly being a bit of an idiot because Jorginho was like, well, basically having to tell him how to take the pictures, which was quite funny. But yeah, I thought he had a very good performance. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we all saw that one clip by now of that attacking passage when obviously, unfortunately, Aubameyang couldn't take the 1-1 score. But that was one of the moments where you could see what Jorginho does. Like, we all know he has certain weaknesses when we get hit on transition and in physical duels. Obviously, he's weak, he's slow. We're all aware of this. But certain things that he does, and unfortunately, he can't do them as often as I'm sure he would like and as we would like. But when we have the opportunity and when the movement's right for us to have the right triangles and to break lines with one touch, quick passing, there's very few players better at quite that than Jorginho. Now, of course, that's not all football is. So that's why it's always hot and cold with him. Some people love him, some people hate him. I guess there's some that are in the middle. But, I feel like he's a bit like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. I feel like there's not that many that are kind of in the middle. But I thought it was very good. I was thinking like 7.5, 8 potentially. Kyle, what would you go with?
Yeah, probably a 7.5. I feel like he's going to get the same treatment as Kepa because he has those liabilities. He's going to be on and off, really, depending on how he does for the game. So yeah, 7.5 for me for sure. Yeah, I feel like he controlled the game quite well, and that passion of play to get that Aubameyang shot was quite good. Jorginho set it all up, and yeah, not many people ran past him today. It's quite good. I feel like him in a 3 is much better than him in a double pivot and underneath a Potter system for sure. So I feel like 7.5 is perfectly fine for someone like Jorginho for sure.
Fair dues. All right, we kind of have 2 7.5s for the time being. Then I might still make a final decision on mine. But Pice, would you agree with that? And by the way, for some reason, my mum was calling me about 4 times in a row. So while Pice talking, I'll quickly call her back. So keep talking for a couple of minutes. Pice, I will be back. Thank you.
Jorginho?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jorginho, man of the match. I don't know quite how, to be honest with you. I think there was a few others that should have got it ahead of him, but yeah, he was pretty good. I think he was good under pressure. You agree, don't you, Cole? I think he was pretty decent.
Good under pressure for sure. Like, he's not really the best person to talk about this game because he wasn't outstanding in the midfield, but yeah, it's just a good game for him, I think, for sure. So,
yeah, I went with a 7 on Charlie's stream.
okay.
But I think he could go 7.5 to be fair. Good under pressure as usual. I think the only thing with him is what I noticed is he got outrun quite a bit.
Yeah.
And obviously, athletically, he's not the best. I saw a few people roasting him for his lack of athleticism, but his lack of pace. But that's definitely a thing that I guess in the market we can improve on as well. There's been a lot of midfield links and rumours. So I think that's something we'll probably address. And obviously, he's got that contract situation going on. But yeah, I went with a 7. I'd be interested to see what Laurenz thinks now he's back.
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, I said earlier, I'm like thinking somewhere between a 7 and an 8. So I'm like, I guess I'd be okay with a 7.5 and probably just agree with that on Kyle. And then unfortunately, it would outweigh your 7. But yeah, somewhere about that ballpark. I thought it was very good. Now, I've seen, I'm not sure if you saw it as well, Kyle, but I'm sure you did, Pies. That tweet by Matisse when he was talking about how Jorginho is just always so great in the Champions League, but not so much in the Premier League. I personally don't always see that distinction because Salzburg are, in terms of pressing and physicality, a more difficult team than a lot of the Premier League teams are. So, like, I'm not really sure whether whether Europe has anything to do with this. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's just some games he's better, some games he's not as good, regardless of whether that's in Europe or in the Premier League. I think that's doing him a bit of a disservice in terms of how good he has also been in certain Premier League games. Again, not all of them, but in some of them, he most certainly has been great. I'll go 7.5, but I think whether someone goes 7, 7.5, 8, I think it doesn't really matter. I think all of those would be somewhat justified. Absolutely. All right, then. I will do the wing backs kind of after the midfielders because obviously of who they were and how they played. I think, they definitely weren't more defensive. I think definitely Kovacic, but even Gallagher, I would say. But let's get to Mateo Kovacic. Now, Pies, you touched on him earlier in terms of that you thought it was crazy that he started, and as did I, if I'm honest. And obviously, in the end, he did get subbed off with a bit of tightness in his calf, additionally to already having a knee problem. But, maybe it's also because obviously Kovacic is born in Austria. Apparently his parents and his family were there. I'm not sure if his parents and family still live in Austria, by the way. I feel like they don't, because otherwise I feel like they would constantly talk about this here in Austria, but I've never heard that mentioned. So I assume they don't live here. I'm not sure where they live. Did they go back to Croatia? Did they move elsewhere? I have no idea. But they were certainly present, so he was very chuffed about himself getting such a good goal. And what a goal it was. Now, I will be honest. When I first saw him hit it, number one, I thought he completely missed it and he scuffed it. Like, you know how it, like, sometimes the ball just slips over like your boot and then you give it like the outside curl, which he did do. But I still kind of, like, watching it back, I kind of thought he meant it. But I actually thought, that little post that kind of, I guess, attaches to the goal net. I thought he hit that post rather than the actual post, and it went in. I only clocked that he actually scored when I saw him run away celebrating. And I'm like, that is an outrageous goal. That is unbelievable. There was also like a fair few crazy good passes as well. Sometimes, of course, misplaces passes, but in general, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I thought him, like, obviously I mentioned Cucurella. For me, Cucurella, Chalobah, and Kovacic were very much so the main contenders for man of the match for me personally. And I mean, yeah, one could say he didn't get it because he was subbed off, but I mean, Mason Mount got man of the match in Milan when he only played one half. So, clearly that's not always the decisive factor according to UEFA. So, but yeah, I was very happy with him. With that goal as well, I'm thinking giving him the same 9 as I wanted to give, as I personally gave Cucurella. Carl, do you think that's overdoing it a little bit for Kovacic, or did you think he was that good? Because the goal most certainly was that good.
Yeah, the goal was good, but he's weak foot as well. He only scores bangers for some reason. So Kovacic definitely had a good game. I feel like even outside of the goal, he's just overall very good. Had a very good game. And personally, when I watch him under Potter, I don't really like him too further back. I do think he'll be better, a little bit pushed forward, so he can do this sort of stuff. Control the game a little bit closer. I feel like him and Sterling wasn't the best, but overall, him as an overall game with that goal, especially. Probably a 9, 8.5, 9. Give it a 9 for sure.
Fair dues. And by the way, I didn't miss your super chat, Mario. I will get to it in a second. Pice, 9 for Kovacic. I mean, you're probably not going to disagree with us because obviously you love him. But would you go even higher, or do you think a 9 is fair?
I mean, this is brilliant. I mean, I went with a 9 as well, so I guess we all agree. I think could have been higher if he stayed on, but yeah, he come off sort of 60 minutes. But yeah, his best goals, I mean, all of his goals are when he has like no time to think about it. He just instinctively hits them. And he seems to score screamers. So I was shocked he scored, but I was so gassed. I love it when he scores. Just, yeah, my favourite player. So got to be a 9. I thought just on the ball as well, so good. Some of the passes he was playing, I said like the one with into Kai Havertz where I think he could have squared it for a tap in was great. He just doesn't look like he's playing with an injury for me, even in this
No.
game. I think that's the one
Maybe
thing.
he
So,
looks a little bit slower, like off the mark, than he did when he's fully fit. But otherwise, he looks perfectly
yeah,
fine.
I'd like to know more information about what actually this knee problem is, because clearly it's not that bad if he's being chosen for or coming on against Man U and then starting 2 days later. But again, at some points, Potter said we need to manage his minutes. Well, for me, he's not really doing that great, but we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, I don't even know whether it's the left or the right knee because
Yeah, no one
maybe
knows.
you
It's
could
just a
with
knee
knee.
problem.
Yeah. Because I feel like if it's his right knee, it would be even more impressive. Because obviously he uses his right knee more because he's right-footed for like passing and everything. Now, obviously his goal yesterday was his left foot, so maybe that makes us think maybe it is the right knee. But yeah, certainly impressive. I fear, and I'm not sure if you've heard anything regarding that, Pies. I assume you haven't because I haven't seen anything, but I have a little bit of a fear that after the World Cup, my guy is going to turn up and say he's going to have some sort of surgery, or even if, obviously, I don't know if his knee problem could actually be fixed with surgery. Now, there was obviously some talk about surgery a few weeks ago, but obviously they decided not to. So I'm not sure if they will ever decide to do that. But maybe a few weeks off, he will require after the World Cup. So I'm a little bit scared of that. But did you hear anything about potential after the World Cup thing for Kovacic, bro?
I think there's been a few rumors circulating, nothing from like journalists or anything, but I think some people have been talking about it maybe. But I hope not. And I guess, I mean, surgery is always like the last port of call. So I'm hoping, it improves or something. But I don't see how it's going to improve when he's playing like he's one of Croatia's first starters with Modric and Perisic and that. So like, and the amount he's playing for us, I don't see how it's going to improve. So yeah, potentially. And there's also been like a lot of rumors about us buying a midfielder in January. So I guess it could make sense, but we just have to see. It's a waiting game.
I feel like we need a new midfielder regardless of whether Kovacic is playing or not. But yeah. I mean, as much as I love him and I actually like Croatia as well, I guess we can hope Croatia somehow bottle it and go out in the group stages and Kovacic gets a good 3 weeks off. That would
be lovely, but I think Croatia are one of the underrated teams for me. So
yeah,
they always seem to
I
play
reckon at
quite
least
well.
quarters. Do you know what I mean? So obviously you'll always have to see who they actually end up facing in the round of 16 before judging that. But still, most certainly not looking like they're gonna get knocked out in the group stages. Conor Gallagher, and I think before we get into actual rating, bit of a shout out. This was his first ever Champions League start, and I think especially considering that, it's a very, very good performance. Like, obviously we were all a little bit like, what's happening when he obviously was subbed off after 15 minutes against Brentford, and then he wasn't involved. I'm not sure if he came on, but he certainly didn't start against United. But that was a really good performance. Honestly, maybe I feel now in hindsight a bit harsh giving Jorginho only 7.5. Maybe I should have given him an 8, but hey, here we are. Because I thought Gallagher was very good, and maybe he even warrants. Like, it's certainly 7.5, maybe even an 8, if I'm honest, because I also thought he was very good. I thought he was a workhorse, making sure he drops in when Pulisic, was too high up to drop back to help out defensively. The work rate up and down the pitch, like some of the crosses that he's really good at crossing, I've realized. Considering he's so far in his life played very centrally all the time, as far as I was aware at least, whether that was at Palace, at West Brom, or wherever he was on before that. I keep forgetting whatever the club that was. But now, whenever at Chelsea, he's in this right side position. My guy plays one good cross after the other. I'm super impressed with that. But, Pice, I'll go with you first. Sorry, Kyle. Where would you go with the rating? Do you think 7.5, 8 is about fair, or do you think I'm going a bit too overboard with that?
Sorry, just send Lukaku scored, for fuck's sake. I mean, that's good for us. But yeah, anyway, Gallagher was very, very good. One of my highest ratings I gave out, I think I gave him an 8.5. I went really high. And because, I tell you why, it's because I think he's gone up leaps and bounds, and he's really, really impressed me. And I think just like honestly, there's always this big like hoo-ha about energy over technical ability. We want technical plays and stuff
what I
like
want
that.
is someone that does both.
But oh my days, bro! Does this guy run? Does this guy fight for Chelsea? Like, it's why Gallagher and Mount are so loved by a lot of managers and Southgate in general. Although he's not the best person to go off, but still, like, it's why he gets picked. His energy is just infectious to everybody, and the defensive work rate from him last night and attacking work rate, just the all-round game, I thought was ridiculous. I didn't expect it, honestly. I thought he was really, really good. And I hope he keeps it up because, just on the ball, I think he's looking so much better. Just passing, I think much better. Control, much better. Awareness, much better. The early days, he was getting bullied. He didn't know what was around him. Leeds game, for example, he lost the ball before it even got to him because he wasn't checking his surroundings. But he's just looking like a proper footballer now. I don't know what's happened. Maybe it's just Tuchel was playing pivot and stuff. I don't know, man. He's looking confident. So, yeah, I
think
went with
maybe
an
also a little
8.5.
bit the nerves of obviously at the start of the season was his first few real games for Chelsea. Maybe that also hindered him a bit.
Yeah, he's looking confident. He's taking his chances. Like every time he's come into the team, he looks really good. So yeah, especially on the part. I have to give him an 8.5. I think Charlie knocked me down to an 8, but I went with an 8.5.
I do. So I put that on the screen for now before I take it to Cal. I think, honestly, especially against pressing teams, having Gallagher as an option, I'm not saying he should start every game, but having Gallagher as an option against high intensity, high energy, high pressing teams is such a good counter weapon because he, like you said, he has that energy to like literally run all day, all game. Like he's also pretty quick as well. It's not like, Jorginho runs all game as well. He just runs very slowly. But Gallagher runs all game pretty quickly as well. And it's a bit of a midfield cheat code. It's not, obviously he's not Kante, but in terms of work rate, he's maybe a little bit like Kante, not as good in terms of reading things. Of course not. I'm not trying to even put them in the same bracket, but just saying in terms of work rate and running ability, he's very, 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 very high up there, honestly. Kyle, I mean, do you think Price went slightly over the top with the 8.5? I was thinking 7.5 or 8. So what about you? Where about would you go for kind of?
It's a bit of a hard one. After hearing what he said, like I want to go higher, but I don't know. Maybe I thought he was an 8. A solid 8 for this game. I felt like him out wide. He made 2 big chances actually, to Aubameyang and Kai Havertz as well. So saying that, maybe he should have got higher if they actually scored those chances. He did overplay a few passes, but yeah, him out wide covering Pulisic, I was like, his crosses were very good. And I feel like, yeah, even though we don't have players like Foden or Saka, we do create loads of good workhorses like Mount and Gallagher who are doing very good this game over the past few years actually. So yeah, Gallagher had a good game. I'll stick with an 8 for sure. An 8.
Absolutely. All right, we'll give him the 8. Unfortunately, there's double whammy for you, Pice. You got dragged down to an 8 for Gallagher yesterday and today. We do apologize, but we do appreciate that you rated him so highly, considering at the start of the season you were quite critical of him. So it's always nice to see, and not because he proved you wrong. Well, I guess because he proved you wrong, but not because it's you, but because it's always nice when players manage to prove us wrong and change our opinions of them. And obviously, he's not done that for forever now, but at the moment, he's most certainly changed a few of our opinions. And that, to some extent, also includes me. Like, I wasn't ever as critical and skeptical of him as maybe you were, but I was also not 100% told. I was like, okay, let's see what he can do, basically. But at the moment, he's most certainly proving himself to be a very, very valuable asset to have in the squad. And especially when we allow him to play in a position where he can be box-to-box, can be involved in the attack, but also can use his work rate to be involved defensively. I think it doesn't really get much more suited to that position than Colin Gallagher, if I'm being perfectly honest. All right, let's get to Raheem Sterling. Now, remember him playing a couple of very nice passes. One to Kai Havertz was like a lovely through ball. But in general, if I'm honest, I was again very underwhelmed. Like maybe he completed a couple of dribbles in this one because obviously he had 0 out of 4 in the last few, like zero completed dribbles in the last 4 games. So maybe he completed 1 or 2 or maybe even more against Salzburg. But I still felt he was very hesitant. He was very almost lacking confidence, a bit lethargic in certain situations, just slow. I also didn't like his positioning at wing back. I'm like, we were trying, especially at the beginning of the game, and we still kind of needed to figure out how we actually find our way through the Salzburg team. I thought like his positioning was just really strange. I'm like, bro, we're trying to pass out from the back. You are a wing back passing option, and you are hiding between the Salzburg player all the time. Stop doing that. Like, make yourself available to be passed to. But I still think he had some good moments, like I say. So I think in total, I'd probably give him like an average 6. Am I being harsh, Kyle, or would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably was a 6 to be honest. It wasn't his best game. I don't really like him out wide, to be honest. I felt like if he is going to be that wide, you need to create a bit more, either defensively or attacking wise.
I think if he's that wide, he should be doing it on the right side, not on the left, personally.
Because, I mean,
I've never seen Sterling play a good cross with left foot. So what's the point in him being so far wide on the left?
I guess it's to cut in and shoot, but he didn't really do that either. Like, if I think of Sterling, his best trait is probably like poaching, like getting the end of crosses and scoring goals. Now Reece James is not here. Like, I just don't see much he can offer. Like, yeah, he's doing okay, nothing bad, nothing terrible that we can talk too much about. But yeah, it is a bit worrying. It's him, not doing too well this game. But yeah, 6 is definitely understandable there.
Fair dues. Pice, would you agree with a 6 as well? What did you make of Sterling yesterday?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think I did go with 6. Yeah, I think I did. It's kind of what you said, really. I want to see him just pick up the ball and like take more authority. Like, just be that guy. You know what I mean? Make stuff happen.
The guy that he was supposedly trying to be. I'm just
I think
wanting to see what he said he was going to be. I'm not expecting anything outrageous here. I'm expecting what he said he would do. Like, at least do that, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I referred back before to Charlie. Remember the first pre-season game he played, the very first, I think one of his first touches ever in a Chelsea shirt. He picked up the ball, turned on the halfway line, beat like 3 players, won a foul. I was like, oh my days, please do this. Like,
Charlie,
you know what I mean? I think it was the American team. But just that like confidence and just authority with you. Like, I'm one of the best players. Like, here I am, kind of thing. And since then, he's playing within himself a little bit. Like, he's in a shell, I think. It's tough though, because I think this position where he was playing, he kept passing it back. He didn't really want to go forward because obviously he had defensive duties as well. Like, I thought that about Pulisic as well. Pulisic was really good on the ball, but every time he'd make a run through the middle or something, he was cautious not to go too attacking in case we got countered. So there is that element of like defensive duties in your mind as well. But at the same time, and for that, I thought, maybe he should play where like Havertz was playing, or even Aubameyang, just play more further, in kind of like a shadow striker position or something, but retain the wide position at the same time. But at the same time, I was quite disappointed. So yeah, I think I went with an average 6 as well. I don't know what to quite make of him at the moment, because I know there's obviously a player in there. It's just like, how do we get the best out of him? Because when he's been playing in the forward left position and not at wing back, he's been getting in those positions but not scoring or freezing on the ball or taking too long to make a decision. And then when he plays wing back, he's like, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? That you might as well play.
Yeah.
You could, I don't know. It's just a bit weird. Don't know.
It's weird because of how we deployed the wing backs in this game. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different when we have a real winger on both sides, rather than when we played against Red Bull Salzburg. We had Reece James on one side, like in the home game. We had Reece James on the one side and then Sterling on the other side. Then it's a bit different if you have one wing back as a winger rather than both. But still, like, look at Trossard for Brighton on the Graham Potter. It's not like the guy wasn't involved attacking wise. I don't think when we do interpret it very offensively, that wing back position, I don't think it necessarily should stop him getting into good scoring positions. And I don't think it did, it did to some extent, but I don't think that was the system that stopped him from doing it. I thought that's his own hesitation, where he's just hesitating on when to make runs, when to move places. I don't know. But at the same time, I do agree with what Pai said. This is not the end of Raheem Sterling. I'm very confident that we will see a much, much better Raheem Sterling in the future, hopefully as soon as possible for Chelsea. But at this moment in time, whether it's form, whether it's fatigue, whether it's pressure, I don't know what it is, but it's not exactly working out. Because to get a 6, and in my head, for you to still have been much better than you were for the last few weeks, that doesn't exactly, sound very good now, does it? But fair enough. Let's get to Christian Pulisic. Obviously, he did get the assist for the winner in the end. Now, Thierry Henry, apparently, I didn't watch him say it, but apparently he kind of discredited, mugged off, whichever way you want to use, Pulisic for that assist, because he said, well, Havertz did all the work. Pulisic just played a 5-yard pass, which to some extent is true. But I do think he did him a little bit harshly there. I don't know why he did, but because he attacked the defender. Then they both pushed out of him. He turned well, very close turning circle and very tight turning circle, which pulled defenders out, gave Havertz more space, in my opinion, and then found, like, with a cheeky, like, outside of the boot pass. It wasn't a difficult pass, but it was still like he released it quickly. As soon as he finished his, like, turning around himself, he released it immediately, and that allowed space and allowed Havertz the chance to shoot. So I thought it was quite good. But there was also occasions where Pulisic certainly didn't do as good as he could have done. Like, there was a few touches. But there was also touches which I saw you tweet about, Pice, where I was like, oh, it was a really good touch. Obviously, there was the one chance where he was through a goal. I'm not sure if there is a potential that might have been offside. The ref didn't give it, and obviously he didn't score, so it never mattered. But he tried to control it with his head, and then he kind of, I don't know if it's hesitated or if the ball just didn't fall right to him after. Obviously, he had to control it with his head, and it was bouncing in front of him. But he certainly could have scored. Then obviously he had that, I can't remember who crossed the ball to him, but he basically had not a tap in, but a very big chance. Yes, it was up in the air and awkward height around the knee, hip height. But he tried to go for it with his weak foot and he just basically missed the ball completely. So that wasn't great. But I still think he was a tad better than Sterling, if I'm being perfectly honest. But not much. I was thinking 6.5, maybe 7, but I think 7 would be pushing it. I would say 6.5. Price. What did you make of Pulisic? And would you agree with 6.5 or would you go higher than that?
I went for a 7. Think he deserved it. I think when I read the stats or someone said to me, how is he that good on the ball? Because he was among the most, dispossessed. But I was saying, I just felt like from my position watching the game, I thought he was just really authoritative, something that I wanted Sterling to be. He kept picking up the ball, he kept making runs constantly. Every time he got the ball, he tried to take someone on or tried to do something. Just positive, running into midfield as well with the ball, beating a player, playing it to Kovacic or Gallagher to then play it out wide. I thought, especially for a position not familiar with him, I thought he was really good. So, yeah, I'd go with 7.
Okay, fair dues. Kyle, would you go along with Pice's 7? Would you agree with my 6.5? Would you go for something new? Well, what did you make of Pulisic yesterday, bro?
I'm giving him the same as you, 6.5. I felt like he did have a good game. But if you look at the stats, he is quite similar to Sterling. He did get dispossessed a few times, but at least he actually did try some stuff. He had a bit more effort.
Because I think you make a good point. I think he got dispossessed because he tried. Sterling got dispossessed even though he didn't try.
I'd rather that than Sterling. Let's be honest here. So
maybe I want to change my mind to a 7, just for the trying factor. And I know we shouldn't give too much benefit for that, but I'm at least you tried, man. Sterling didn't even look like he tried all the time. So I'm I feel harsh almost only giving him 0.5 more in a way. Do you see what I mean?
You're kind of changing my mind. I don't know. I feel like 6.5 is kind of fair, but maybe it's in between a 6.5 and a 7.
Yeah.
But overall, I just felt at least he tried some stuff anyway, which, made it a bit better than Sterling anyway. And I don't really see his future in this position along with Sterling. So it's a bit weird one to rate him fully on this position. I don't know where he'll play after this as well. What do you guys think on Pulisic?
Oh, it's going to be interesting. I think just because of the way Potter seems to be doing it, we have different formation every game, super dependent on the opponent. Obviously, you said before the game that the idea of this was, because Salzburg are a narrow team and they play a bit of a diamond in the central areas, that means they obviously leave spaces in wide areas because they can't cover everything at the same time, can they? So, and I think that was probably the same explanation for why they chose to do that same formation in the first game against Salzburg. So I don't think we would necessarily play this formation all the time, just because not every team has their strengths in narrow areas of the pitch. And then when they don't have that, maybe we will try to focus on narrow areas or the more central areas of the pitch. So, but I don't know. What I like to see, and I know Ziyech came on and he's been otherwise one of the guys that has gotten the least amount of chances. But I like that at the moment, a lot of players are number one getting the chance. A lot of players that we didn't quite expect it from are taking their chances, like a Gallagher, a Chalobah, even a Broja, and to some extent also Christian Pulisic. So I'm quite happy with that. But ladies and gentlemen, because we couldn't really decide between a 6 or a 7, I will simply give you the option to just vote for it yourself. So at the top of the chat, I put a poll: Pulisic rating versus Salzburg. I gave you the options between 6.5 and 7, which we couldn't decide between so far. So please place your vote in the poll, and in a few more minutes' time, we will get back to it and see what you guys decide. And for the time being, I guess I'll just put 6.5/7. Even if we actually don't have any space on screen to do that, we'll just do that until you guys have placed your votes. All right, let's get to Kai Havertz then. My God, what a goal. Pice, remember when we were sat here talking about his goal for Germany against England? It was very, very similar. This one was arguably even that tad better because obviously it hit the very underside of the bar and bounced in. What a finish. What a goal. Now, otherwise, was he amazing? No, but he was good. He really should have had an assist for Aubameyang. You mentioned there when he could have had another assist where he was the one that didn't play the perfect pass, but on that other occasion he did to Aubameyang, just Aubameyang bottled it. So, but yeah, what a finish, what a goal. I was very happy to see it. In terms of rating, difficult though, because it was good, but nothing outrageously crazy good in general, right? With the goal, 7.5. Am I being harsh? I think it's about fair. But what about you? Do you think with the goal 7.5 is about okay, or what would you give him?
Havertz, yeah, it's an interesting one because I think obviously the goal he scored was great, but other than that, I thought his performance was pretty average, to be honest. I know he had that nice play where it led to the Aubameyang shot, but again, I just think he's behind the post with the rest, in my opinion. I didn't quite think, I think the pass was good to Aubameyang, but if he messed that up, I'd be fuming. So
Yeah.
I actually went with a 6.5, I think, yesterday, even with the goal.
Ooh, okay. Fair enough. I mean, do you want to revert that from yesterday and go to like a 7 or something, or are you going to stick with it?
No, I think the goal kind of saved him from an average 6. It was a great goal.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. No, see, without the goal would have given him a 6.5. So I'm giving him a full point for that goal. That's how good it was. I mean, number one, it won us the game, and number two, it was a crazy goal. So I think a full point extra for that goal is set. But you can of course only add 0.5 if you fancy that. No problem at all. All right, so we sit at a 7 at the moment with a 7.5 and a 6.5. Kyle, what would you give Kai Havertz? Obviously,
I'm going to stick with a 7. Leave it as a 7 for me. Like, he was quite wasteful sometimes. A little bit disappointing through some parts of the game. I thought maybe Kai Havertz is going to have one of those games again. So 7 was my original score. Well, that's my score now, actually. Even with the goal was crazy, though. It was quite good. Good turn, good shot. Kind of what I want to see more of him. And I feel like I don't really know what his position is still. Like, sometimes I feel like he's a 10, but when I see him as a 10, he doesn't do too well. And then when I say him as a second striker, I'm like, I'm not sure yet. So it's still going to be a big season for Kai Havertz. I've been saying it for a while. Like, this is his last big season for sure. Because I know Nkunku's coming in. He's going to have to see what it's about. And I think he likes it here, to be honest. Him and Mount, Chelsea lads, they all love him, to be honest. So I think he wants to stay, but it is a big season for him to actually be a starter in our squad, I would say. So yeah, 7 for me.
Yeah, I do agree with it, and I think if he can do things like that goal, and obviously like the one for Germany against England, that type of thing. If he can add, like, obviously we all know he's been struggling in terms of form, whether it's certain touches, certain pieces of decision making, certain just I don't know, just movements and, like I say, touches, passes, shots, sometimes finishing, obviously. But if you can add, now obviously a lot, in my opinion, his struggles are largely form related rather than ability related. I think Kai Havertz has all the ability in the world. I know a lot of people always say, what does he bring? What does he do? I agree. And obviously this has been way too long of a spell where he's not really been as good as we all want him to be and expect him to be. But I still think it's in there. I'm just not sure if we'll ever consistently manage to get it out of him at Chelsea. I don't know that. I still think it's in there. And if he can, I don't know. I also think it makes his own life easier if he adds that threat of a longer shot effort into his game. That will also, over time, if he does that somewhat more regularly, I feel like that will also adapt how defenders try to defend him, which will also give him a tad more space, because players will be a little bit scared that if they commit into it to tackle him, that in that moment where they lunge in, that he will just take a shot. But while they expect him not to take a shot anyway, that is a much more viable option. So maybe that having that threat of the shot will allow him more space for other things as well, which I hope for. And I also hope in terms of confidence, it will just help him. But fair enough. We sit at 7 overall. I don't think that's too far of the reality. I think it's about fair. Now, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. My guy missed 3 sitters. Okay, 2. But 2 real sitters. All right, where's that? Like, he also had that one. I can't remember who fed the ball to him, but he had that touch one when it was just bounced away from him.
Sorry, wait, what was the second sitter?
Well, the near post finish. I think it's a good finish and a great save, but just put it far. Far corner and score. No, absolutely, bro. He's
bro. That was a good shot. I can't lie. It was a great save.
It is a good shot.
I thought he caught him out.
And he can't score. You were all telling me we were getting this unbelievable finisher. Then I expect to go from 7 yards, bro.
No, I do for the first one, but the second one, I think he had a great power. I think it was a great placement, but it was a great save.
Yeah, it was a hard shot.
Great power, I agree, but bad decision to put it there in the first place. Put it in the other corner and make it unsavable. Like,
that's true.
Surely you were telling me, Pies, we get this unbelievable elite finisher. Well, why can't I expect elite finishing then? Isn't that what I should be expecting? You were telling me that's what I'm getting.
I said he's a very good finisher. I still think he is, but still not. You know, I did say when we signed him, he did miss a lot of chances even at Arsenal. So it's an upgrade on what we have. But
there was a lot of people telling me, but he's this elite finisher. I'm like, is he though? Not seeing it so far, I can't lie. but maybe I'm harsh, okay. But still, one real sitter that is outrageous that he doesn't score, quite frankly. And if that's Morata or Lukaku or Werner or Havertz, they're getting hounded for weeks for that, mind you. Especially because, you know, we played so well in the first half and conceded that equaliser. And, you know, you needed Havertz out of all sorts of form to bail him out to even win us the game. Imagine we don't win that game and Aubameyang has missed those chances. We're talking about the number 9 curse again. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Was he any good otherwise? Not that I could see. Didn't like his movement. He's so bad at aerials when you can not give him a long ball. He's more like you could literally put I don't know, flipping. Who's the shortest player? Sean Wright Phillips. Could put Sean Wright Phillips on top. Would win about as many headers as Aubameyang. It's ridiculous. Nah, I'm going off on a tangent now. But yeah, I just didn't think he was very good. Because of the chances that he missed, I would probably overall give him like a 5, but then take another bit off for the misses. So I think like 4 or 4.5. I assume by your reaction, Pies, that you're thinking I'm being way too harsh now. But hey, I have to say what I think. So now you know what? I do think that the first one, as much as it's a good shot, why not go for the other one? Also, the header, even though it was an unbelievable save from the goalie, hit a better header. Put it further in the corner. Don't let him save it, man. Again, I was told it's an elite finisher. Maybe not by Pies. Maybe I misconstrued or mixed up who told me what. But still, do better. Maybe I'm harsh, but I say what I feel. So, Kyle, how harsh do you think I am? Or do you even agree?
I'm looking back at some of the stuff now, and yeah, you do have a point there. Some of the chances he didn't do too well. Even some of his touches as well weren't too good as well. So maybe I don't want to give him a 4 because that's just terrible in my eyes. But maybe a 5. It's just below bad because he did have good positioning, but overall, other than that, he wasn't too good. And I don't even think he's an elite gunman. He never was. Like he's always been some guy that's good at position wise. Like he's good at getting to good positions, so he gets a lot of chances. That's
like all these years where he's got all these goals for Arsenal. Not that last one where he obviously got the golden boot and joined with Salah, but all these years before, I'm like, it was just because he had Ozil behind him. Now, obviously, Ozil ruined the rest of Arsenal because that meant they didn't have a press and they didn't defend. But creatively, there was very few players better than Mesut Ozil. And obviously, if you have Ozil with you, it makes your life so much easier as a striker. That's why I always thought, sorry, God off.
He was a lot faster back then.
I always want to block you for saying that. That's outrageous. But so, Carl, what did you say? That I didn't hear you.
Oh yeah, I was saying he was a lot faster as well in Arsenal's team, and he was playing a winger position. So it was a bit different. Where what he's playing now it's still full on striker. Yeah, I wouldn't give him a 7 for sure. I'll probably give him a 5.
Yeah,
I don't know, just below the average because he wasn't terrible. He did create some chances. He had some good shots. Tried to catch up the keeper, like Pice said, but it wasn't the worst performance. It wasn't Morata level, 4 out.
No, it definitely no. It wasn't Morata level. That is very true. So okay, so for the time being, we set at 4.5. But obviously, I'm aware Pice will now drag this up at least to 5. But we'll see what he goes with. What would you give him? Now, I said 4. Carl said 5. Would you go higher than a 5, or would you agree with the 5? What did you think of Aubameyang?
6 because it's the average rating. I thought it was average. Sterling got 6, so I give Aubameyang a 6.
Aubameyang was huge chances. And obviously, he was in a position where that's more likely than where Sterling was, but I feel like
chances, no. Chances, no. I think chance, yes.
You're being very nice. If that was Werner or Havertz, you'd be livid.
Bro, Werner wouldn't even get the ball off the floor. He'd probably put it wide or something.
I probably would, but that doesn't make it any. That doesn't.
Havertz. I know Havertz scored a great goal yesterday, but 9 times out of 10 he'd probably p-roll it into the goalie. So from my angle, I thought it was a great save. But
in the last 4 games,
he didn't have any. He hardly had any time to shoot as well. He hardly had any time to shoot as well. He ran onto the ball, so I think that's what made it an even better save. The fact that he was running onto it with power.
And that is very true. I do also want to say it was a great save. But it's one of those occasions where I'm like, you're 1-1 with the goalkeeper. A great save is a great save, but you, as the attacker, you're always in the better situation. So you can't just hit it so well that there's no save good enough for it because it's just physically impossible to save, which you didn't do. But hey, here we are. We'll give him a 5 with 1-4, 1-5, and 1-6. Here we are. This is not too bad. Let's get the subs done quickly because we do want to round this one out before the Champions League starts in about 3 minutes, which will be tight, but, let me try to get this up now.
Speed run them.
Yeah, honestly, speed run them. But before that, I need to figure out who actually was subbed on because I can't remember them all off the top of my head. If I'm being perfect.
Broja, Ziyech. Who else came on, Carl?
Mount.
Ruben?
Did Mount come on?
Mount, Ruben.
Aspilicueta and Loftus-Cheek, yeah.
Exactly. All right.
That's
so
5.
Ruben came on for Koba, obviously. What does that poll say, by the way? Okay, the 7-1. So we'll give Pulisic the 7. Fair dues. Let's do that. Then we have Aspie. Did Aspie even come on for Pulisic? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, he did.
Broja came on for Aubameyang.
Ziyech as well.
Ziyech came on for God knows who, and Aubameyang, and Mount came on as well. Ziyech came on for Sterling.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was Sterling.
Aubameyang, and Mount for Gallagher. Yeah, that does make sense. For Sterling, that was then Ziyech and Mount for Gallagher. Now, I guess Ruben and Aspie are probably the only ones that played long enough to really get a rating. So we can just stamp the others off with like an NA just because we don't have so much time. So Pies quickly. Ruben, I was in the stadium, so I should have seen everything. But even I don't really have much of an opinion on how Ruben did. Just did. I thought he did okay. Didn't add anything crazy good. Didn't add anything crazy bad.
Yeah, I agree. I can't really remember any moments, to be honest with you. Probably goes
Which
6.
is a bit because he played over 20 minutes. So
yeah.
I don't remember much as well, to be honest. It's
maybe
just
we should just give him an NA as well then, rather than faff about here trying to figure out some sort of ratings which we can't think of anyway. Just give him an NA then. It's okay. Do you guys have any thoughts on Aspie on the other hand, or shall we just do all of the subs, giving them all?
No, honestly, the subs yesterday, I was going to say the only one that annoyed me or did something of note was Ziyech when he kept giving the ball away when we was trying to retain the lead. But yeah.
He wanted to do something. He wanted to sort something out, but show what he's about, I guess.
He tried and failed.
Sabotaging us.
There you go. I mean, Carl, do you agree? Even for Aspie, not really much to add to do.
No, I don't remember much from him. We switched to a 4, didn't we, with Aspie and Cucurella as like left back and right back, which it's a bit weird, but then it worked, didn't it? So I didn't think there was much really to think about, really. If you're going to give him NA, that's good, or 6 out of 10, good as well.
Fair dues. All right. For Broja, now, Pi said he didn't think it was very good. I didn't really think he had that many moments where he had the chance to be good, other than when he was trying to waste time by holding the ball up, and I just thought he was unbelievable at that. But again, not really much to say in terms of rating, because obviously he had a lack of minutes. Now, the last thing we obviously always do, so with Jorginho, why not? Give Graham Potter his rating. Now, the first Chelsea manager, and Pies, your tweet made it onto BT Sport, shout out to you. The first manager since Robbie Di Matteo that, I'm not sure if Chelsea manager, I assume not Chelsea manager, but the first manager that, goes unbeaten in his first 4 Champions League games, and 3 of those being wins since Robbie Di Matteo in 2012. So maybe we're winning the Champions League again. That'd be quite fun. But to be honest, I would go with a reasonably high rating. Now, the one negative you can say is obviously that Kovacic picked up the injury, but if Mount and Ruben both had like tight muscles, then I guess you do what you got to do, what you got to do, unless you would have started Chukwuemeka, I suppose. So, and otherwise, we got the job done. We topped the group. What more can you really ask for? Carl, what rating would you give Graham Potter?
Yeah, it was just an overall good game. It wasn't amazing, but it was set up to win. We did win. Probably a above average 7 out of 10.
Okay. Pies, what about you?
I'm actually going to go for a 9 because I think the football was really, really good, in my opinion. And I think would have probably been a perfect performance if we didn't concede and maybe Kovacic didn't play. But other than that, I think, the football was great. The subs made sense. We defended well. Like, for me, it's got to be a 9 at least.
At least. Fair dues. See, I was going to give him an 8, which I guess we're sat at anyway, because Carl's at 7, you said 9. So I'm going to go 8. because I do agree with actually what you said, Pies. I just think, we had great football, but only in certain passages. Like there was, rather than that, it was consistently amazing. It was like certain moments which were just really extraordinary, quite frankly. And those were just special. But what I'm excited for and what I hope for is that once we get a little bit of more time on the training pitch and get a bit more time to work on things under Graham Potter, is that we'll find a way to make passages of play like that a more regular occurrence. And if we can do that, my God, are we going to be great to watch. And I cannot flipping wait. The one last thing, because I did tell you I would get back to it. Mario, yes, you gave me money. So, yes, Chalobah will have a 9. Because, why not? And also, I quite like Mario Balotelli. So there you go. Mario, appreciate your donation. Chalobah gets a 9. We're all happy. And now we have to round this one out because Champions League's already kicked off about 2 minutes ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, number one thing before, and because I haven't said it just yet, actually, please do subscribe if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. On the road to 20,000 subscribers. Hit the like button on your way out. Please check out Carl's YouTube channel. The link is down in the description. Chelsea Plus, as you can see, and check out his content over there. And as always, the plug, of course. And, if you haven't checked it out, please do actually go check it out. Ideally, right now. Link to it is down in the description. ChelseaFC365.com, which is Pice's website. Please do check that out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. What a great day. Top of the Champions League group. Can't really ask for more. And we'll see you next time.